Peace and grand rising to the air. Today is December 24th, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, and 2020 on the Greco-Roman calendar. Today is the final day of the winter solstice, and it has been quite amazing energetically. Today is the last day where the sun will go down and then start its ascent, the ascending of it. Today, and this time that we're in also is going to be the separation of the wheat from the chaff, or the wheat from the tares. And what that means for us, it's all great news for us. Anything that's not like our ancestors will fall away, and anything that's like them will stay, which means we're good. We're all good. We're good. The United States Post Office, as you all know, and that's in red in all lowercase letters, which is all Moors, we are all the postmasters general of the earth, and this land is the main post for earth, for the Universal Postal Union, which is us in all lowercase letters in red. We are that. We're the Universal Postal Union. And us and all of the nations of the earth are that together, the indigenous nations of the earth. So we're in the process. We talked about this demonstration some weeks back, where we would send our first document, our first mailing, from one end of the North Gate to the other. And that demonstration is in process right now. So I'm excited about that. The mailing is being prepared, and we have the Postmaster General who will be bringing that from Georgia territory to here. So we're very excited about that. It will have a Moorish American stamp on it, our own stamp and seal. And it's going to travel all the way across Nexum, ancient Morocco. And it will not enter the United States at all. The United States corporation company, that thing that they were claiming, it won't enter that at all. It will be the sovereign United States in red in all lowercase letters. So we're excited about that. And we're just going to track the package, the parcel. What is the mailing about? It's just some affidavits, and those who are in that territory, the Georgia territory, are going to be just giving us a written record or a written update of what they've been doing in the territory. So they're just going to provide us with some of the miracles they've been working over there. So that's what the mailing is about, and it's on Moorish government letterhead. So everything is going to be all about the Moors. So I'm excited about that. We said we were going to do it, and the ancestors just dropped it right in our lap to make it so that it's very easy for us to do. So one of the Moors from here has gone to that territory and connected with the Moors in that territory. And that's what Empress Alessandra and I were talking about previously, because she's in that other territory over there. And she's the Postmaster General who will be putting that demonstration together. She's doing it already. So we honor Empress Alessandra. Thank you so much for that. And we also honor the nobility that's going to be bringing the document across. And this is the same thing that that one doing business as Benjamin Franklin did back when he first when this change took place and the corporates began doing corporate things on our land. And it was actually before 1861 that this happened. So he was doing it where the republic is concerned. And that's how they got that corporate thing that we see today. It started with Benjamin Franklin. And the Benjamin Franklin Post Office is in Philadelphia's territory. And they had someone to, and this is just their story. I don't know how true this is for them, but they had someone supposedly ride a horse from there to here and back with mailings. And they say it took them, 6 weeks or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure how long they said that was gonna take. And then when they talk about Paul Revere riding a horse and saying the British are coming, he was really just announcing that the Bar Association and all of those barristers were coming. That's what he was really saying. They don't really talk too much about that, but that's what that really is about. But he was on horseback, and he was delivering the message in the way that they could, which to me shows a lot of dedication if that story is true. I mean, how many of us would ride a horse from one end of Nexum to the other? But you know what? If that's what I had to do in order for this to happen, I would have done it. I would have done it. Just because our nation is worth it. And us getting things started the way that restoring that which our ancestors put in place is worth it. It would be worth it. If I had to walk, I would. But I'm so grateful I don't. So that's what we were talking about previously before the recording started with the Post Office demonstration. And we're really excited about getting that demonstration on the record. And there is going to be a tracking number. So if there are any more that are traveling from one territory to another, take a mailing with you. Take an affidavit, put it in an envelope, put a stamp of your own hand, whatever you choose, however you choose to make your stamp look. And then put, what we did with this one is we took the green and white return receipt number and put it in red. And then we're going to track it through our own method of tracking, which is going to be text message. Where's the package today? And we'll keep track of where it is throughout its travel until I have it here. So it'll be recorded on that end, and then it will travel, and then when we get it here, it will be recorded on this end so that all the Moors can see that our post office is doing its administrative responsibility. So because that's gonna set off that's gonna put a chain of energies and events in place for us that need to be in place.
Yes, Islam. Okay. So when you said put your own stamp, you guys created your own stamp? You drew it up and put some glue on it and stuck it on? Yeah. Really? Oh, yeah. Wow. And it's moving.
Jonaya, you're back. Where's Mila?
It's going to be moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's going to be moving. The Postmaster General, the Sovereign Postmaster General, is already in place to bring it back this way. And then we'll do the same thing. We're going to take something from here to over there at some point. And I know the ancestors will drop that one in our lap too, just because we said it. As soon as we say things, all of us, as soon as we say things, as soon as things come out of our mouths as sovereigns, the ancestors make it so. And that's why they always say in the Biblioteliotheek, it talks about how God cannot lie. Anything that we say, the ancestors are going to make it so. The energies just come together to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So then there's no reason for us to ever lie, because even if we told a lie, they're still going to make it the truth. They're going to make it happen. Still. And, you know, that's why they say be careful what you ask for. Because you
Hey, Pauline, I saw you're drunk and traveling.
You will get it.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're excited about that. I'm excited about it. Islam, Justice Theodore, Islam, we are alive. Islam. Are there any other questions about the postal demonstration? Because that demonstration.
Yeah, Pauline, share your drunk and traveling mugshot with everybody.
Is it time to lock the call?
It's locked. He signed in 3 times.
Oh, okay.
But he booted out 3 times as well. This time it's a spell. So with the stamp, all it takes to do that is get some labels, some of the labels that we get from anywhere, Office Depot, Staples, wherever, the blank labels.
Yeah, that's interesting, because actually I had thought about doing that, but I never actually did it. Maybe I was waiting for somebody else to do it first. So now that you've done it, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll send you something.
Yeah, Islam. Oh, that's right. Because we can Postmaster General that too. That'll give us an excuse to see each other.
Yeah.
So, but we can all put it on those labels. We can put our government seal on the labels. If you have a kinship or bloodline seal that you want to use as your stamp, you can do that. Mm-hmm. One thing we know about mailings is that each mailing is indeed a financial exchange as well. So we'll be doing a go-back financial exchange that will be truly without the United States, because Moors will be the only ones handling it. Mm. So, and that means a lot. It's going to cast and break a bunch of energies and cells in the atmosphere about that whole postal thing, because most of us have been through some demonstrations that we had to do where the post office is concerned, where the postal service, rather, is concerned. And so that will cast and break some spells there, because when we say that we are without the United States, that's the truth. The United States Corporation Company, that's the truth. We're the real United States. They're not even a nation. It's a corporation. So we're actually the real nation. So it's time we do things that nations do. We have our own post office. We're it. Anything that we want done on our land, we have to do it. And when we show the ancestors that we are willing to do it, they drop whatever it is right in our lap. They just hand it to us and say, here you go. Do that. And we do it. And then when we do it, whatever that energy or spell was, where our sovereign status was not properly being honored, it just falls. Whatever it is, it just falls. When we do it ourselves even once, it breaks the spell on our land. And that's the part I like, is is the spells being broken across our whole land. And in reality, when it's broken here, it's broken all over the earth because everything starts here. All corporations start here. I was telling one of the Moors today that, you know, there's a reason why every corporation that was doing business on earth had to have their name on the register in Washington, D.C. before they could start doing business. Because they were all hinging everything on us, on all the land masses. If you go on Dun and Bradstreet and you look and you put in Hong Kong, or you put in Australia, Sweden, Africa, you're going to see they're all registered right there in D.C. They have to be on that registry. They had to be on that registry so that when it came time for us to take back all of the resources, we would know where to find everybody. So we could lien them. It made it easy for them to be liened. They're all there. And fortunately, when we started this lien process, we have some Moors in China territory that they were liening so quickly they did hundreds of liens and provided the tracking numbers and everything to us. They were like, we're liening everything moving over here. And they did. But they, from even over there in China, they had to go to Dun and Bradstreet here to get the proper information for the things that were going on over there. So I'm excited for us, for our nation, because we're breaking so many spells on our land. Just this year alone, can you imagine how much of our own resources we have saved by doing the leaning and then them having to say COVID is stopping everything, so to speak. I mean, think about just in gas, where people power their conveyances. Look how much of that has been saved this year. Think about that in terms of the amount that they were saying they were using every day. And now most people they're not getting in their conveyances driving around every day. Most are not. Most are at home. That alone has enhanced the wealth and the value of our vast estate exponentially. Just that one resource. Because we said, okay, enough. We're ready to control our own resources. So everything needs to grind to a halt. And grinding to a halt doesn't mean all in one day, but it does mean that after a while, everything has to stop because the air said so. Yes. Justice Theodore in the chat, absolutely. If you go to the GMEI utility website, it will, yes, in the chat, Empress O'More, she put the link to Dun and Bradstreet there. And Justice Theodore is talking about how he went to the GMI utility website to look at, he looked up EIN numbers and all of that that's associated with the court that they were claiming was him, but it wasn't him. And there's over 400 numbers. And with each number, there's a corporation somewhere over on some other land, yes, all over the earth, that's using us as, or they were using the court, which is not us, but it was based on some documents that were created at our birth.
Islam, I have a question about that. Is it possible that all of those corporations listed under the EIN number, is it possible that we can place those in our trust?
They're already in it if you leaned that.
Okay.
If you lean that's why we lean the all caps name, and any agents, principals, heirs, assigns, etc. We lien all of that.
Okay.
And when you lien it, it does put the resource in the trust, but it doesn't put the debt in there.
Okay.
Because creditors can't, by definition, we can't, debt is not a thing that can be transferred to us, by definition. So when we lien it, we just stop debtors from using it.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that's why we encourage everyone to lien the all cap name. Lien it so they can stop using it, because that's what they create war rants and all of that stuff with. And bills and all of that. So you just lien it. And when you lien it as an original indigenous sovereign Moorish American on government letterhead, then no matter what is there before, what fake liens they've tried to put on it, because it's fake too. It's a corpse too. Yours goes ahead of theirs because you're the creditor. They're not real creditors. So your sovereign lien takes precedence over all others. And then until that's paid in gold by the court, who can't pay it, then they can't use it. Are they going to pretend like they can? They've been faking the whole time. So they're going to pretend like they can. But all you have to do is say, nope, it's liened already. First in time is first in line. Yes, Empress Portia. That's the law. That's not something we made up. And that's why we said lien that joker, lien him. Whoever that straw is claiming to be you, and they're trying to, issue all types of stuff to the court. No, lien them, whoever it is that's trying to issue something and they're trying to get you to induce you to fraud, lien it. Because a lien is telling them we're not frauds, we're the truth. We're the creditor, and we know we're the creditor. And we're going to prove we're the creditor by liening you in gold and silver. That's what creditors do. So we got this. It's a wrap. Hold up. And all we have to do is stand on what we do. Lien it, and then call everybody into your sovereign court. Because not only are we all the postmasters general, and we're all of that, we're the justices too on the land. When they say Jesus is coming back, and Jesus means justice. So the second coming has occurred, and you all are it. We all are it. Every last one of us. So I didn't want to go. Are there any other questions about that? About any of that? Yes. And in the chat, Justice Yezreel, a king with a capital K has, that's an office. That's not even a person. It's an office just like president of a corporation is. That's an office with a capital K. And then, yes, Justice Gilmore, Empress Portia put that up a little earlier too. Yes.
Islam.
Speaking Islam.
If I can just say one thing about the first in time, first in line, it is not that when we file the lien, that is the first in time. Remember who we are, the primogenitor. So first in time, before anyone was, I am. That is first in time. Everything after that follows. I just wanted to make that point. Islam.
Yeah, that's how I meant it too.
Yes, Islam. Primo and prime means the same thing. So when they say prime minister, that's actually another way of saying primogenitor.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Grand Sheik was saying that we have prime ministers, not presidents. Just another. The vowels are interchangeable. So, speaking of kings, here, I wanted to, let's see, speaking of kings and authority, a lot of times we've heard the fake popes being referred to as the Roman Curia, right? So I decided to do a little digging, and this is why I say we're the justices of all of everything. Does anyone know what Curia means without having to look it up? Because I didn't know what it meant before. I knew it meant something because when I think Roman Curia, I think authority. So let's talk about Curia for just a minute, so that we can prove once again that the heirs are the only authority on the earth. When you say someone is in Curia, that means they're in court. Curia means court. That's why we do court actions. We're the Roman Curia in red and all lowercase letters. Because see, when they talk about the Vatican and all of that, we're already that in red and all lowercase letters, been that. And we know that the Vatican, that building, is ancient Timbuktu. So whenever we're doing court actions, we're doing them in several different capacities. But those capacities as the sovereigns are all one. We're doing it as justices. We're also doing it as popes in red in all lowercase letters. Because the thing that we did not know previously in our sleep is that those who are doing business as judges that were attempting to judge the heirs, those corporates, were acting in a papal capacity when we went into those state tribunals. That's why they always have a Bible somewhere around up there. And when the fake judges take their oath, they put their hand on a Bible because they're actually doing ministerial duties. So, there is no pope but the Moor in red and all lowercase letters. There is no sovereign pope but the Moor. And every time we do a court action, we are acting in a papal capacity. And that's why they wear robes. They wear the same kind of clothing, uniform, cloth. That's why they say ministers are men of the cloth. And that has several meanings. That's not the only meaning of men of the cloth. Cloth also refers to unum sanctum policy. In the unum sanctum, there is a piece of cloth mentioned in unum sanctum. And when you go back and read it, you'll see what that cloth is really for. So we've been the authority on the land the whole time. Now, I want to switch gears just a little bit because on our last call, we were talking about Justice Gilmore. Did you want to elaborate on that just a little bit? I'm not really sure what you're saying there in the chat.
Islam. What I was saying is from your first comment about the Vatican, I would say the Vatican is our storehouse for knowledge.
Yes.
That's why all of that stuff is there, and the 50-mile corridors under it have all the information in them.
Yes.
That's one. Then the Library of Alexandria, Virginia, is the one, the Alexandria that was supposedly burnt.
Yes.
That is ours. And then there's a third one. It's Glastonbury, England.
That's good. And there's another one too, the Nag Hammadi Library in Egypt.
There you go. Okay. So all our libraries for knowledge are there.
Mm-hmm.
So Islam.
Just about every quote unquote Catholic church, and that's Catholic with a capital C, just about every one of them has a library. So they've been storing records as well as the Masonic lodges. So we can find our history everywhere.
Islam?
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit more to it than that. Every one of them have an access that's closed off to inner earth.
Yeah.
They've been trying to get into it for a long time. But every one of them has that, so because each one sits on a vortex.
Yeah.
Islam.
That's why they had a church on every corner in where we were. They were covering the vortices, the entryway. That's why there was a church on every corner in the hood, quote unquote.
Yes, and all of those, remember, vortices are for traveling, so that's how they control the right to travel.
Yes.
And because of lack of knowledge, we were not able to get there. I will tell you, portal travel is very interesting, and you don't even know you're doing it until you do it.
Yes.
It's that quick. And everyone in this meeting can do portal travel right now. But I'm not saying any more about that at this point. Islam.
Islam. So, wow. In our last call, we were talking about the law of the jungle. For those who were not on that call, you can go back and listen to it. One of the heirs came on the call and talked about how he purchased a domicile using a corporate method. And when he purchased the domicile, the realtor gave him a little warning. And she mentioned the law of the jungle, saying that if someone tries to take his property, she mentioned that someone could possibly come and try and take the property. That's what she said. She mentioned that. And she mentioned the law of the jungle, and she didn't give him any more information about it. Now, fortunately for him, he has Morse documents in place. But we talked about how that even when people are, quote unquote, buying property, that the realtors are warning them, because the realtors know that we're awake to, and that all property belongs to the heirs. And the realtors have been warning those who are still buying by that method that someone could come and take the property. Take the property. And it's not really taking it because they don't own it in the first place. We do. And so I decided to do a little more digging to expose to all of us where that term law of the jungle comes from. The term law of the jungle is a Rudyard Kipling poem based on the Magna Carta and the part of the Magna Carta that is the Charter of the Forest. That's something we gave the Allians. They go by that, the Charter of the Forest. So let's talk a little bit about that. And this is going to, again, ensure to the heirs that everything belongs to us. Article 1 of the Charter of the Forest, and this is a simplified transcript of it, it states that first, we order that all lands which became forests under King Henry II, our grandfather, so you know this is talking about them and not the heirs, shall be examined by good and lawful men, which is us. And if these investigations find that Henry II created forests on land that did not rightfully belong to the king, this land shall no longer be considered forest or forest. Yes, Justice Jeremore in the chat, Robin Hood is based on that. Robin Hood is based on that. So when we talk about the forest, which is where the animals hang out, they hang out in the forest and we're on the land. And anything, any land, doesn't even matter whether it's occupied by foreigners or not. If good and lawful men, and we know we're the law, so we know they're talking about us. If we decide, if we do an investigation, and again, all land belongs to the heirs, so this goes for all land. And we say, well, you didn't have lawful right to claim that. So that is not for your rest. It is for the heirs to domicile. That's for us. But it has to be good and lawful. Liens are lawful. Guns are not lawful when it comes to this kind of thing. When it comes to property possession, we don't need guns. We need the law. And since we are the law, now go back and look at how far back the Magna Carta goes. The year 1215. And that's actually a foreign version. The original goes back into perpetuity, because we wrote the original. But we're just talking about the one from 1215. So where property is concerned, yes, Justice Theodore in the chat. That was something. On the previous call, when the heir was talking about the domicile that he purchased, the realtor, they didn't even get a wet ink signature, because they know what they're doing is fraud. They said that he couldn't come into the signing office to do the quote unquote closing because the signing office had COVID. So he couldn't come in. So there was COVID in the building. So he was told to go on to the internet and do a DocuSign. Now, we know that whenever something is done and it's done lawfully, a wet ink signature is always in place. They've known that too. And now they cannot take our signatures if we don't give them, because our signatures are sovereign. Our autographs are sovereign. And they probably had an idea that he would sign in red in all lowercase letters, and they cannot have that on their documents because Those two cannot be together. That's amalgamation. And they don't get it. They don't get paid for that. They can't even collect debt on that because we're the creditor. That's why they don't want our signatures, our autographs in red and all lowercase letters, because it's no longer a debt instrument then, because the creditor has signed it, has autographed it. I think that's pretty cool for us. So the fraud is ended. The fraud is ended. And that demonstration is proof, further proof. We know that the fraud is ended on our land. So now we have to do things allodially and sovereignly and in the proper way that it should be done. And we know how to do that already. So again, you can even point back to the Charter of the Forest or the Law of the Jungle. Do you remember the movie Jungle Fever? That was about them. We're not in the jungle. We're on the land. And any land that we say this is land, it's not the sea and it's not the jungle. It's not the forest. It's the land of the air. And when we say that, eminent dominion has just been invoked. Eminent dominion and sovereign jurisdiction has been invoked. And that's really what that thing that they were calling eminent domain, that's really what that was based on. That was, eminent domain is a hypothecation of eminent dominion. So with eminent domain, and most of us know what that is, that's when someone doing business as the government, they used to, if they wanted to build a road through somewhere or something like that, and there were houses in the way, quote unquote houses in the way, instead of paying the people, if they had people who were saying, well, I want 3 times the value of this house in order for me to move, they would just say, okay, we're invoking eminent domain. We're going to take the house and we're going to give you $10,000 or whatever, or $1 or no dollars. And they weren't even given real money. They were given Federal Reserve debt notes. That's eminent domain. We have eminent dominion over all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. But we have to change the commerce from corporate commerce to sovereign commerce. We have to note and know and state and proclaim that we are of the land and that the land is ours in order for eminent dominion to apply. And then we have to put the proper documents and processes in place. The same processes that they did, because everything that they did, yes, I can unlock it. Everything that they did it with a court action. It's unlocked. They can come in, Islam. They did it with a court action in place. And we didn't know that there was a court action in place. We just thought that they were just producing paper and just saying this, and this, and this, but there had to be a fake court action in place for them to do anything. Because that created a contract.
Happy Kwanzaa, you bunch of lemmings.
It created a contract. And they can invoke contracts on citizens at any time, and without the citizens, without their
You moofs are nothing but a bunch of lemmings.
without their
Don't
permission.
you know that Paul?
Okay, they can do that to those citizens. So that's why it was important for us to have our own court, and for Moors to do the court action. That's why we had to do that, so that they could stop doing what they were doing, but there couldn't be a void there. If we tell them you're the fake, we have to be the real for everything. Same thing that we're doing with the post office and the postmasters general. We've been telling them, we've been reading them the codes and statutes and all of that. We know what the prepaid codes and everything are. Well, since we know what those codes are, that means that we're competent to be the postmasters general. And then we implement all of that as we do our job as postmasters general on the land. Same thing that we're doing with everything else, including the Provost Marshal. We're all the Provost Marshal. We're the American Provost Marshal. So we're going to be putting some things in place there. We've already put some things in place. In fact, most have already put a Provost Marshal affidavit on the public record. Many more have done that. If you've not done it, go ahead and put an affidavit on the public record with the jurisdictional statement stating who you are and that you are the sovereign American Provost Marshal in red and all lowercase letters. And then we're going to move forward with that. And again, in the coming weeks and months, we'll be talking about that and demonstrating that in the ways that we demonstrate, so that everyone can see how those demonstrations are done. Another random kind of like word fact. We are called navigators. Throughout history, we've been the sovereign navigators. And we're the ones who, after the Great Flood that happened, where all of this water, the Atlantic, the Pacific, etc., came into being, we went around the earth and mapped everything out again, okay? And we did it by waterway. And so we've always been called navigators. And so back in the ancient times and up until like when the foreigners were created and began to do whatever they did, they would refer to us as navies. Navies, the navies, Navies, navies. And that's where the term Navy came from. And that's why Navy is on the water. And that's why the Navy does what it does, because we were the first Navy. Always been the first Navy. We're the first of everything. And then one quick word about the Magna Carta. In the Magna Carta, all the way back to 1215, you can see the word sheriff in there. And that is why the sheriff, or Sharifian peace officer in our case, that's where they derive their authority from. And when I say they, I do not mean a corporate sheriff, because they don't have any authority. They're a corporation. Corporations cannot govern. Okay. We're the sheriff on the land, the Sharifian peace officers on the land. And the Magna Carta, when you read it, go back through it, you'll see there where they mention archbishop, bishop, sheriff. They put all of those offices that we didn't think were related because of separation of church and state, quote unquote. Church and state were never separate. Never separate. And they're not separate now with us. But they just, those two words, church and state, have a whole new meaning when it comes to the Moors. We don't mean church like the old one. Okay? And we don't mean state like a corporate state or a nation hyphen state. We're not a nation hyphen state. We're not any word with a hyphen in it, because hyphens are minus signs and words are math. So those are some just a few things that that we wanted to discuss this week. And also I wanted to bring up the Constitution. Yes, we are the several states. Yes, we are in the chat. Mr. Shearmore, we're the several states. And each one of us has sovereignty as a several state and sovereignty, and then we have sovereign, we are sovereign together as the nation and as the government and as the law on the land, and there is no higher. I wanted to, let's see, bring up the Constitution, and because the Constitution was, our ancient Constitution came before even the Magna Carta, but the dates that they've given is the 1700s and the 1800s for the 1789, 1791 for the Constitution. But the American Constitution actually has always been it. There never was a time when we didn't have a Constitution. Something I wanted to bring up about the Magna Carta too. The Magna Carta talks about a word, so we've always used the word de jure, D-E space J-U-R-E, meaning lawful, the law. At law, we are the government. So we're a de jure government. Well, the citizens have a term called de cive, C-I-V-E. Okay, and de cive, as I was doing a little, doing some study on the Magna Carta, because again, they took everything that they did from the Biblio-Heliotext. There never was a separation of church and state. So when I pulled up, there is a quote that they use that the Magna Carta, one of the quotes that one of the proverbs that from the Biblio-Heliotext that the Magna Carta is based on is Proverbs, the 8th chapter, verse 15. And it is translated as, "By me kings reign and rulers decree what is just." And who do you think the me is? The Moors. By us kings reign. We're the ones who put them in place. And if we don't put them in place, they can't reign. A king is an office that we sanction or not sanction or abolish. And so even according to the Magna Carta, the citizen is in office too. We're the ones who can say whether someone is a lawful citizen or not on our land. So that's an office that they can be put in or taken out of. And with the usurpation, they stepped into a corporate status. instead of citizen subject status. So by us, kings reign and rulers decree what is just. They've always known what we're saying right now, and now we say it so that we all can know too, that we're the ones who put anyone who has any authority, we do it. Yes, Empress Portia. Absolutely. We can, again, the power of life and death is in our tongue. We can put them in and we can take them out of that office, which is what we did with the court action. We took the ones who are now, they don't know who blah, blah, blah in that office known as president. Okay, we took them out of it. So no one's in it. No one's in it. It doesn't even matter what they say, no one's in it. No one's in that office because we don't need someone in that office. We're here. And we Moors have already, we're the prime ministers. We're the presidents. We're the governors. We're all authorities on the land. All of that. We're all of that. Always have been. So any Moors who have not put those affidavits on the public record, please put them on the public record. That you're the mayor, you're the governor, and all that. And we just spell it a little bit differently. We add an E to the end of all of those words because it means what we say it means, and we're not any court or corporation. So put those documents, those affidavits on the public record stating that you're that. And that way you will know that you don't have to go to them for anything. When we put those types of documents there, it's not just to throw around weight. It's not even for that. It's actually so that we know that I know, listen, I did it. I put the documents on the public record. So whenever I think about president or any of that stuff, I'm thinking about the Moors. That's why the documents, it's good to put them on the public record that we're that. So then we will know that we don't have to go to them for anything. Because some Moors want to go to Donald Trump for whatever, and he doesn't have any authority. If he had any authority, he wouldn't give it anyway. They would use it for themselves, like they've been doing. But they did it with our consent. And now when we say there's no more consent, they can't keep doing it. So that's why we put that out there too, is so that we know in our minds and our hearts that we are the authority on the land. And then when we put it out there, everyone else knows that we know too. So all Moors are encouraged to do that. Postmaster General, all Moors are that. Justices with the Moorish American Consulate and the Moorish National Republic federal government, all Moors are that. We are the governing ecclesia. And ecclesia does not mean church, and it doesn't mean choir, and it doesn't mean anything that has to do with that Christian definition of ecclesia. That's a governing term, ecclesia, and some call it ecclesia. But that has everything to do with governing and not with modern Christianity. The ecclesia in ancient Rome, which means it was us, ancient Rome, the ecclesia are the ones who would call everyone together and say, hey, we have an issue that we need to vote on. And the ecclesia would provide the information about the issue. And then the Moors can go and do their research on that issue. And then the ecclesia would say, okay, let's vote on this issue and see what we're going to do about it. All Moors are that. So the question then becomes, how do we decide who's going to be the ecclesia? Whoever steps up to do the work is going to be it. That's how things are being done, is whoever steps up to do the work then that means that they're the Ecclesia. Because they've consented to be. Because these sovereigns can consent to be whatever they want to be. When we were little and our parents said, baby, when you grow up, you can be whatever you want to be. They were not lying. That's the truth. So in our nation,
Islam. Something I wanted to also say about something you said earlier about that we're not able to tell a lie. And the reason we are not able, one of the reasons, and I subscribe to that being the major reason why we're not able to tell a lie, is because the moment we state it, we have already thought about it. So it's the thing. It cannot be a lie. It is so. And it's at the thought it is so. The proclamation of it just etches it into the fabric of everything else.
Yes.
Islam.
Our Turkish brothers say it well. They held that for us. O deyince olduran. Gönüllerinizi iman gadoltan. That means when we intend a thing, all we say, our command is be, and it is.
It is so. Yes.
There it is.
Islam.
We just say be. We said be, post office. Be ours. Be financial system. And here it is. It's ours. As he thinketh, so is he. Yes, Justice Jezreel. Yes. And now that the energies are back in their natural flow, whatever we say, when we intend it, it's going to be. That's what the solstice and the 21st and this time that we're in right now is all about. It's us knowing that when we say something, it is. That our word will not return unto us void. It never will. It will never return unto us void. But it will accomplish all that we send it out to do. So now is a great time. If you have not set your intention, write down your intention for you and for your heirs and all of that. Write it down. And every now and then, write it again, and then some do a ritual with the writing where they burn it and let the smoke go up into the air so that it goes out into the ethers to manifest. Because the energies will again, we cannot lie. The energies are going to make it happen. Okay. The Constitution, I wanted to point something out really quickly about that because we've been talking about, our prophet said enforce the Constitution. We've been doing a great job of that. It's time to get down into the technicalities of it so that we know exactly how to enforce it. So I just want to bring up one or two things really quickly about the Constitution. Let me see. I'm going to try and pull it up on the screen if I can. There it is. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Let me make sure that this is on the screen first. Okay. Can you see the Constitution on the screen? I know it's a little bit small. I'm going to make it bigger in just a moment. Because this is important. where all that
Yes.
we've been saying is about. Thank you, Justice. Okay, I want to make it as big as possible because I need to show you something about the Constitution. Now, this Constitution is from an older, an 1828 unabridged dictionary, where they used to put things in the back of the dictionary. And if you'll see here, right there, just one moment. Okay, there's a little bit of an echo coming from somewhere, so I'm going to go ahead and mute a few lines here so that we can hear. Let's see. Okay, because I need to, this is important for us as the heirs to know. There's a couple of things that we need to know about this that we're enforcing. The first line of this says, the Constitution originally consisted of a preamble and 7 articles, and in that form was ratified by a convention of the states on September 17, 1787. Okay, so we have seen that, you know, we've been referring people to Amendment 13 and all of that. This was before the 13th Amendment. This was before any of the amendments. When we originally wrote it, and it had 7 articles and a preamble. We made sure Article 6 was in there, where it says all laws made by the state to the contrary of this Constitution and its treaties is notwithstanding. That's what we made sure that one was in there. Yes. So now, this is where it says for the United States. In the preamble that we seldom see, it says here, we the people, and people is in all lowercase letters here on this one. And all of it should be in all lowercase letters because they're taught. We wrote it for us first, and then we gave a copy to the foreigners so that they could follow a constitution also. But it says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, which is what our courts do, ensure domestic tranquility, we are the peace, and the more perfect union is between the nations, the sovereign, original, indigenous nations, provide for the common defense, and notice that they spelled defense the way we would spell it in ancient English, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So that's where the Constitution for the United States of America comes from. It's for the United States. It's for the foreigners. It's for us in red and all lowercase letters, and how we do things among each other as well. But we're not under any constitution in terms of the corporate. We're not under that constitution. They hypothecated, and everything that they've written, they hypothecated, including the Declaration of Independence and all of that. All of that stuff was hypothecated. Sedicate V is even hypothecated. The secret treaty of Verona, everything that was written is hypothecated and improperly used and put in place. Improperly. Or was put in place. We've removed it. By leaning everyone and calling them into court, we removed all of that. But I wanted to show you where the Constitution for the United States, yes, in the chat, in all lowercase letters in red is us, and not any foreign party. It's the heirs. And that's where we did a video about 6 months ago on the Article 6. And we explained the difference between the United States in all capital letters, the United States with just a capital U and a capital S, and then the United States in red in all lowercase letters, which is us. And that helps to make Article 6 make more sense to those who read it. Okay. So if you have a moment to go back and look at that video, it's there. We were talking about math in that video and using the Constitution to invoke that we don't have to wear them if we don't want to wear them. So we don't wear them. I don't. And many more don't wear them either. And we go wherever we want to go. And just enforce it. So that's all I want to say about the Constitution. We are going to be going into some deep dive study of the Constitution because we need to know what we're enforcing. And we need to see because where we're going to be enforcing it more and more and more and more. And there's some beautiful things in the Constitution that we can enforce. We're going to be glad to enforce it even more so with a deep dive study of the Constitution. So that as the land is changing, it's already back to, it's lawful because we're lawful. Now we have to know we're moving into full governance of it by way of the Constitution and the treaty. So we'll be changing the way that it's written. And when I say changing, I mean we'll be putting it in red in all lowercase letters so that it reads properly and that the proper authority is given and demonstrated with the Constitution because we are the authority. We gave it to them for them to follow. And we want to be sure that we put it in place properly because we are the government and everything must be lawful. And that's another reason why the ones that are the foreigners who are saying things like, they're talking about the republic this and the republic that and all of that. Well, we're the law and we're the government. And it's only the form of government is determined by the heirs. And we've already determined it since time immemorial into perpetuity. All we have to do is continue to be it. Know that we wrote the American Constitution. We wrote it first for ourselves. This was before the Albions were even created, before the hybrids were even created. We wrote it for ourselves so that we could govern among each other, govern ourselves among each other, the other indigenous nations of the earth. So they all go by the American Constitution. So when you talk about, I hear some people saying we need recognition from the other nations. Well, we already got it, actually. They're following the Constitution, and we have to know exactly what it says and how to enforce it. Because with us being the government, which we've always been, we're now going to be moving into sovereign commerce the way that we should. And the Constitution is going to come into play there because there will be other nations on our land, and we need to know how to deal with first with one another and then with the other nations. Yes, the great binding law of peace. Everything is still in force. All we have to do is enforce it. More have said in the past, we need enforcement. We're the enforcement. We're it. That's why the
Islam, Empress.
Yes.
Jim Moore is locked out of the.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Islam.
Let me see. I didn't know that he was out. Islam, it's unlocked. So we want to be sure that Islam.
I was just reporting I'm back in.
Islam, thank you. We want to make sure that that we know what we're enforcing. It's going to be important because it all works in our favor. The Constitution is in our favor. The treaty is in our favor. All of it is in the favor of the Moors. And that's what the prophet said even about commerce and the economy grinding to a halt, and when it starts back up again, it's going to be in the favor of the Moors. It's because the law, the sovereign supreme law of the land is in the favor of the Moors. So we need to move right on into that. We got to get into it because yes, we're talking about contracts and contracting with one another, not with corporates, but with one another. Moors can contract between them. We should be contracting with one another and no foreigners. We should not be contracting with corpses. Okay. We can contract with anyone on the earth, but we just can't contract with corpses. Because that's really, a corpse is really the only thing that's really foreign. Everyone else is a part of us, including the hybrids, when they're in their proper place and status, in their proper status. So that's why this, the Constitution is going to be so important for us as well as we move into the banking piece and all of that. We're going to need it. And we're going to need to enforce it. Everyone is getting, yes, you have to get out of corporate contracts. Everyone, we must all terminate corporate contracts. All corporate contracts must be terminated because you cannot intercourse with the dead, because a contract is intercourse, by the way. It's another way to say intercourse. And we cannot intercourse with the dead and still remain the living. That's unlawful. It's unlawful. And that's why we're terminating all corporate contracts. And then let's just say if our nation wanted to contract with, any other sovereign nation, sovereign original indigenous nation, then we could do that without fear of corporates entering into the commerce and trying to take a piece of it. That's why termination of corporate contracts is so important. Because if you try to do sovereign commerce, but you still have a corporate contract in place, then the corporates will use that contract to tax whatever you do or claim that you're a citizen and try and take you and anything you're doing. They will try to do that. So we have to terminate the corporate contracts, and now we are set to move forward in our own sovereign commerce. So are there any questions about that and about the Constitution and the preamble? There were only 7 articles, which was, we've seen it with a lot of colorability put over the Constitution. It's very colorful in terms of what the foreigners have done to it. Islam, the corpses. Islam.
I thought you might want me to explain what I wrote there.
Yes.
But it is, it is very, very much so, and I keep talking about that part of the triune function of that so-called God, which is the part that they hid by naming a people, the Maya, and by calling the Maya illusion, which it is, but that's only the visible part of it. What happens, everything has to go through that part. The Maya is what we would call in scientific term the black hole, white hole pair where everything after it goes dust to dust and ashes to ashes, it must pass through there to be renewed, renovated, reinvigorated, and then it comes out as creative matter for us to create whatever we want with again. It is the cycle, and that is the part of the cycle they hide, but you can read in many places where in one they'll say the Maya disappeared from the face of the earth. They'll say the Maya went all the way to the far east, but they will also say in their information that the Maya are the healers.
Yes.
That is the part of that story that one must get to know where the Maya went. It is not the illusion, but it is exactly what it's that where the energetic soup is reconstituted, from which when we mind it, it happens from that. But it's all a part of what we've done already. That's just wanted to make sure, because that is so important. Because there are no Maya people except the fake corporate name, Islam.
Islam. Empress Amore put something in the chat talking about, she's asking about like being born again. Absolutely. It is that.
Yes.
It is that. So the foreign hybrids, first of all, let's just make it clear and put it on the record, and we've said this before, but we'll say it again. We love them. They're not our enemy. Despite what some may believe, they're not our enemies. And the only time we have a problem with anybody, and I don't care what they look like, is when they're acting in a corporate capacity on our land and trying to tell the Moors what to do and taking Moors and all of that. And in reality, they only do that because we have not made ourselves competent to know that they can't do it. They can't do it. They can't take a Moor who knows who they are and is competent to express that. It's impossible. I know that sounds crazy, but it's impossible for them to take a Moor who knows who they are and knows how to demonstrate jurisdiction. Demonstrating jurisdiction means terminating all corporate contracts and continually terminating them. Just keep them terminated. Keep them terminated, and then what? Whenever you're approached by them, you don't have to say another word because you've already put everything on the public record. Don't say nothing to those acting in corporate capacity. That's what we mean when we say we don't ever have to talk to a foreign corporate actor. Why would we talk to a court? Why? When we're the living. Now, when whoever it is, whether it be a sleeping Moor or a hybrid, whoever that is, when they step out of that corporate, out from under that corporate covering, the court covering, and they get in their rightful status, we can chit-chat all day long, we can have tea, we can go play golf and all of that. Okay? But the thing is, no one has authority over the sovereign, not even another sovereign. So we're all going to be on the same playing field anyway. It's just that we've gotten used to, yes, Empress Minnie, let the dead bury the dead. Go on somewhere and let them do, that's corpse behavior, and we're not corpses, so we let the dead bury the dead and we keep on living. Yes, Empress Minnie. Truth. That's pure truth right here. So we're not saying don't talk to hybrids. Yes, and it actually becomes hybrid with a lowercase h, or in all lowercase letters. And the hybrid in all lowercase letters in red is the one that we created, just like we created all others. We're the primogenitors, and they came from us, just not by way of the womb. That's all. That's the only difference. And they can be here on this land as long as they're not trying to say they're officer so-and-so and judge so-and-so and all this and that and primary monarch and all of that kind of stuff. No, not over the moors. You can be that in your closet at home in the shower or something, but you cannot be that out here over no moors. That's not your proper status. That's not your proper status. Get in your status. The heirs are. We govern ourselves. And then we do that together in harmony with one another to reign, to govern the vast estate and its vast resources. So, are there any other questions or comments or anything about any of that? We're going to do deep dives into the Constitution coming up over the next few days and weeks because we need to know how to govern by it. We need to know how to govern by the Constitution. Because in a very short while, we're going to start getting into hybrids coming to us because we're the right court. Because their courts and all of that stuff that's the fake corpses and all of that, that's a wrap. And so the hybrids will be able to come to the government, which is the Moors, all Moors, to get resolution on our land for any issues that are happening on our land. And again, we're at peace. We're not at war with anyone. We can't be at war with anyone and try and govern them at the same time. We can't. That's paradoxical. Doesn't work together. Diametrically opposed. So, are there any other questions or comments or anything of that nature? If not, we will continue our coming together and our unifying on Sunday. Enjoy the energies that are happening right now. They're so beautiful. Beautiful energies. As a nation, the cosmos is singing our praises, as it were. It's just telling of all that's going on with us. So let's enjoy that. It's time that we've worked really hard. We can continue working and enjoy our estate at the same time. I'm excited about that because we need to enjoy our time on our estate, and we need to enjoy governing it properly in our proper status. So with that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs.
Grand rising to the Moors.
Islam. Islam. Islam.
The Moors.
Grand Rise. Peace and love, more.
Peace and love. Islam.
Moors.
Grand rising. Islam.
Grand rising.
Grand rising. Do I hear singing bowls? Islam. Yes, I love it.
Grand rising. Angela Bay, Florida Territory.
Grand rising, Empress Angela. Islam.
I thought it was food bowls.
Grand Rise.
Islam. Grand rising. It's the singing bowl.
Yeah, I thought it was food.
Grand Rising.